One of the realities of sports is that change is constant. Sometimes we like the changes, sometimes we don't. Sometimes those changes are good, sometimes they are not. But sports constantly go through a change cycle. It's never ending. It is the only constant. So it is important to grasp and understand that what is the reality today may certainly not be the reality of tomorrow. And sometimes the reality of today is grounded in bad data based off of different truths and reality from years or even decades gone by. That just because it's always the way things are done doesn't mean that's the way that they should be done now or going forward. And you see this play out to me when it comes to the mindset and the thought process of highly drafted, specifically first-round pick NFL quarterbacks. You know, the old way of doing business for the most part used to be you might draft these guys, but you want them to sit and watch and learn because it takes time to develop your skills. It takes time to adjust to the speed and complexity of the NFL game, to learn your plight, your role in the NFL, and all this other stuff. And maybe there was a period of time where that held true. And that certainly was the standard for the most part for generations. Guys would be drafted and they would sit on the bench and learn. Sometimes for a few games, sometimes for a whole season, sometimes for several seasons potentially. You know, and maybe in those times it made sense. You're a team back in the days of the NFL where you didn't have free agency, so you had control of these players for basically their entire career if you so desired. It also made sense from a standpoint of a lot of these teams would draft quarterbacks that are coming from places where they ran the wishbone, ran the triple option, ran some type of very run-centric, run-heavy offense in college, coming to the NFL where, you know, even when you go to like the 60s, 70s, and 80s, it was still surely a run-first type of game, but the game had changed and he started to evolve and become much more open and much more friendly to the passing game. But there was still enough of a contrast and a difference of styles a lot of times between college football and the NFL that you could make an argument that that made some sense. But that's not the reality anymore. And teams need to adjust and adapt. And some have, and some clearly have not. And I'm here to make a very basic statement of absolute fact here. You had 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round in the 2021 NFL Draft. And all 5 of them, yes, all 5 of them should be week 1 starters for their teams. All of them. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, every single goddamn one of them should be starting off the season as their team's starting quarterback. Now, I know there are some fans that buy into that crap of, you got to let them develop. You've had other guys like Aaron Rodgers sat and learned. Patrick Mahomes sat and learned. This guy sat and learned, and all this other dumb, irrelevant crap. Correlation does not equal causation, blah, blah, blah. Now, I will grant you, if let's say, for example, the Atlanta Falcons had drafted a Trey Lance or a Mac Jones or a Justin Fields even. If they drafted him, one of those guys, then I wouldn't knock them for sitting that quarterback in year 1. Because there is a piece that, compared to a Matt Ryan gives the Falcons the best chance to win in 2021. And you've had Matt Ryan there as a franchise quarterback for over a decade. See how it's dependent upon the circumstance and situation, though. So if you were in a unique space where you're drafting towards the top and you're saying, hey, here we go, you know, you're going to sit and watch and develop behind this veteran, this proven commodity, this franchise guy, like you can make that argument. Because you could certainly say that that rookie's not going to be better than Matt Ryan in his first year. Just not. That's reasonable to believe. That's reasonable. You know, for those that bring up the Patrick Mahomes situation. You sit there and say, well, the Chiefs were successful with Alex Smith in 2017. He had arguably his best season and blah, 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 blah. And yeah, what happened when they got to the damn playoffs? You remember that? In reality, what the Chiefs did was they wasted a year of a transcendent type of talent at the position in Patrick Mahomes, all while on a cheap rookie contract, just so they could sit there and stick to this old tried and true formula of you've got to sit the rookie and let him watch and develop. And that's dumb. Like, think about that in the real world. Yes, classroom training is important. Side-by-side training is important. Studying, all those things are important. But at the end of the day, the way that you are going to learn the best, and by far the most, is real-world practical application of the skills that you have learned. And that comes by hands-on experience and doing the damn thing. Anybody that sits there and says that a quarterback, or any talent at any position in the NFL, learns better sitting on the bench than playing is a moron. That makes no fucking sense whatsoever. So you talk about a guy like Mahomes, even then you could at least say, well, Alex Smith, they made the playoffs a couple of times with him. But it got to a point where you got to sit there and say, too, you also traded up big to go get Patrick Mahomes because Patrick Mahomes had special skills and special talents that Alex Smith did not. So why the hell trade up for him if you're not going to play him right away? And what I'm saying is when you get to that 2018 season, Mahomes had that MVP year, blah, blah, blah. Like, for all you know, he could have had that in 2017. You could have been looking at 2018, might have made a little bit of a difference to where the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl that year. And we could talk about the Chiefs having been a team that maybe went to 3 straight Super Bowls. Could potentially have more than 1 Lombardi trophy. Who knows? But what we do know is that you look at these situations and they're the outliers and they're just bad examples. Because the same thing comes up with Aaron Rodgers. The Packers traded up a little bit in 2020, drafted Jordan Love, and he's sitting behind Aaron Rodgers. Why? They're thinking about the long-term play, 12, 15 years down the road. Certainly understand that. But here and now, Aaron Rodgers is still an all-time great NFL quarterback. So, of course, he's going to play over a freaking Jordan Love. Not hard to compute. Just like when they drafted Aaron Rodgers, he sat for a couple of years behind Brett Favre. But at the end of the day, was Aaron Rodgers really that much better because he sat there and watched and learned on the sidelines for 3 damn years? No, give me a damn break. He'd have been much better off earlier if he'd have started playing in 2005 or at least even 2006. Instead, what happened was the Packers had 3 years of going through Favre's tail end of his run in Green Bay, not really sure what they had in Rodgers, but maybe thinking that they had something special in Rodgers, but not really knowing because it wasn't proven on the field. Like, it's just bad and it's dumb. And I point to recent examples, like you look at the Dolphins and the Chargers last year. Imagine how different the trajectory of the Chargers organization would be right now if they would have only played Herbert like half of the year. They went to him because Tyrod had that medical mishap before the Chiefs game. And then once Herbert went out there, Anthony Lynn looked like a clown because it's like, holy shit, how could he have watched all this offseason stuff and thought that Tyrod Taylor was better? That COVID and training camp impacts my ass. Like, go with the guy with the elite tools. Go with the guy that's the better talent. And they didn't have a choice. Like, and even Anthony Lynn initially was sticking to, like, once Tyrod's ready, he's going to start. And that was bullshit. It was dumb. You got to find out about these guys. Meanwhile, with the Miami Dolphins, who knows what Tua's going to be? He could become a franchise quarterback. He may not be. But the fact that they waited and then went to him, but then backed off, went to him, backed off, went to him, backed off, like, all it leaves is lingering doubts about what he might or might not be. When you're talking about today's NFL and you're talking about the rookie contract that you maybe have 3 to 4 years before you've got to make a decision whether this guy's the guy or not, or whether or not you're going to have to give him some type of big money extension or be prepared to move on from him, the best time to start figuring out if that's the dude or not, and whether you got it right or not, is right fucking away. Now, I don't have any problem with quarterback competitions. There's nothing wrong fundamentally with competition. Like, if you look at Jacksonville, everybody knows at the end of the day Trevor Lawrence is going to be the starter, blah, blah, blah. But it is okay to create an illusion of competition between Trevor Lawrence and Gardner Minshew. What's wrong with that? Nothing. Push them to be their best, have them battle against each other, and let the best man win. And if you legitimately went through the process and Gardner Minshew won the job and he was better, and not just like even, but like markedly better, and he gave the Jags the best chance to win in 2021, then you could maybe make an argument. Might also call into question why you took Trevor Lawrence to number 1. But if it's close, you go with the guy that you invested big in with the number 1 overall pick every fucking time. The Jags are going to get this right because they're going to play Trevor Lawrence from game 1, and he's either going to be the dude or not. Did Blake Bortles not starting a few games make any difference in his fucking development when he was drafted in 2014, learning behind Chad Henne? No. He sucked, and later it was exposed that he sucked. And sitting on the bench for a few games didn't help that in one way or another. Like the Jets, seemingly pointing, I would hope and assume, to a Zach Wilson being their day 1 starter, as he fucking should be. You're a bad team that was in this position to potentially take a guy that could change the whole trajectory of your franchise. You've got to find out from day number 1 if he can be the dude or not. Especially since you just moved on from the last guy you thought was going to be the dude in Sam Darnold. I've talked plenty ad nauseum about the Chicago Bears, so I don't need to do much more than this other than the fact of Matt Nagy not only is being stubborn, and so is Pace, being stubborn in their insistence that Andy Dalton has to be the guy, they're going to the point where they're being anti-competitive. This is the same type of protectionist bullshit I used to see in the way they treated Trubisky and Cutler and Grossman. Those are not names of the list you want to be on, where they would refuse competition, not have any competition, and set up everything to protect these guys. Like you're having to do that already gives you an indication of the problem. The Bears winning any games in 2021 with Andy Dalton as their starting quarterback, that's stupid. It's a waste of everybody's fucking time. You need to find out if Justin Fields can be that dude. And the best way to do that is by him starting day 1, period. There is no logical argument or justification. Well, he's going to face the Rams defense. Well, he's going to have to face great defenses at some fucking point. You got to get him up to speed. You got to find out what he can do. And he's got special physical talents that the Red Rocket just doesn't fucking have. It's not hard to figure out here. Well, the offensive line's battered up. Well, who's to say that it'll ever be great this year? Who's to say it'll ever be great? You drafted a dude because he could be the freaking dude. He's going to have to play at some point in time. All these excuses for not playing him are crap. And then you look at the Patriots. I've been a decent Cam Newton supporter over the years. But he's washed. He's done. You saw what he could do last year. You made sure to pull him several times for Jared fucking Stidham. Now you've taken a guy in the mid-first round like Mac Jones. No, you need to start Mac Jones and find out what the hell he is. Help you maybe move on from the Tom Brady era a little bit. Cam Newton, he ain't that dude. You're not winning a chip with him, period. And if you're not going to win a chip with him, then you need to find out whether or not someday you can win one with Mac Jones. And then when you go to the San Francisco 49ers, you look at Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. I still think it was stupid they even kept Jimmy G, but they did nonetheless. But you got to understand the situation, read the room, and understand that no matter what, you're the team with the worst quarterback in the division, potentially. The Seahawks have Russell Wilson. The Lions, or excuse me, not the Lions, well, the Lions did. But now the Rams have frickin' Matthew Stafford, and the Cardinals have Kyler Murray. I'm sorry, but I'm taking Jimmy Garoppolo 4th out of 4. And as a rookie, potentially, Trey Lance 4th out of 4. The difference being, though, is Jimmy Garbage Pail is what Jimmy Garbage Pail is, and he's not going to get better. Trey Lance, again, has unique physical tools and elite athletic upside that suggests that he could potentially be the first or second best quarterback in that division long term. As a result, you want to get behind him now. You want to give him all of the experience and opportunity now. Because if you're the 49ers, you got to look at this realistically and say, are we really going to have another shot at a Super Bowl appearance with a Jimmy Garoppolo as the quarterback? That's reaching and that's being naive. Could you someday be in that position to take over that division and potentially dominate because Trey Lance develops into that dude? You absolutely could. That should be the name of the game here. That's the focus. If you want to care about the long-term progression and growth of these quarterbacks and you want to make sure you're able to find out whether or not they can be the dude or not, the only way to do that is by having them play. And the only way to have that happen is to play them right away. The more experience you get, the better informed your decisions and judgments are going to be. The quicker you get them out there, the quicker they have a chance to figure it out. And reality is, for those of you who are going to say, well, what happens if they go out there and bomb? Well, chances are if they go out there and bomb right away, they probably weren't the fucking dude anyways. Because this whole notion about, oh, you got to adjust to the game. College and the NFL are probably more aligned stylistically and philosophically in terms of offensive football than they have been in 60 or 70 fucking years. A lot of the crap and concepts that you're seeing run in college are being run at the NFL level. It is not nearly the adjustment for a young quarterback to come in and play right away and play well as it once was. We've seen numerous examples of rookie quarterbacks coming in and playing well over the past decade plus. You go back even to 2008. Matt Ryan and Joe Flacco, both of those organizations made the playoffs with those guys as rookie first-round picks, the starting quarterback. Both of those teams are better off in the long term because they played those guys right away. The whole notion of you got to rest these guys, you got to sit them and have them watch, is just dated thinking. And it's got to stop. The environment and reality of today's NFL is drafting these young quarterbacks. If you hit on them, they can create a unique window of opportunity to win a championship where you're not investing so much of your cap space into that most important marquee position, which allows you to then build up the team around them, which is what happened, let's say, with the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. You know you've got that dude. You can invest money in other places to go chase a chip. It was part of the appeal for the Cowboys initially when you have Dak Prescott and he's playing at a certain level and you're saying, okay, shit, he's playing on a fourth-round picks freaking salary for the first 4 years of his career. Like, the dynamics change once you got to start paying those quarterbacks big money. So it is key to hit on them, yes, but it is also key to maximize on the window of which you can capitalize upon that freaking rookie scale contract. And you can't do that when they're sitting on the bench. The best thing for the Jaguars, present and future, is to start Trevor Lawrence, period. The best thing for the Jets, present and future, is to start Zach Wilson. The best thing, absolutely, for the 49ers, because you've been there, you know better, Jimmy G is not that dude. Trey Lance can be. He may not be, but he can be. You know Jimmy G is not that dude. Therefore, you go with the guy that can be the dude. You understand that this year is all about Trey Lance and his development because it potentially changes the trajectory of the next decade or so for this organization. If he shows you this year, he can be that dude. Even if you finish 5-11, even if you finish last place in the division. If you're the Chicago Bears, there is absolutely no freaking reason to be starting Andy Dalton. None. That is just dumb dick, mediocrity of the McCaskey way mindset bullshit. You're going to take the same approach with Justin Fields that you did with Trubisky? Oh, sitting those 4 games behind Mike Glennon made such a big frickin' difference, right? Yeah. Rex Grossman not starting right away so you could start somebody like Cordell fucking Stewart. That made such a big difference in his development, right? Noticing a theme and a trend here? A lot of these guys that didn't pan out ended up sitting initially, didn't play right away. The reality is the truth comes to light eventually, and you find out these dudes either can play or can't fucking play. Wouldn't you rather find out sooner rather than later? Wouldn't you? Now you look at the Bears. If Justin Fields shows you that he's the dude this year, you become a contender next year potentially. If Andy Dalton plays just well enough for the Bears to hover around, like a 7th seed in the playoffs, hover around 500, maybe a little bit below or a little bit above, and Justin Fields only plays a couple of games, now you go into next offseason with all these damn questions about the guy that you thought was going to be the freaking franchise dude. You won't know. You'll be assuming or guessing one way or another because you won't fucking know because you don't have enough body of work to base your judgments and decisions off of. For what? Winning meaningless games with a dude that's not your long-term answer. That's fucking dumb. Same thing for the Patriots. You drafted Mac Jones. Time to sit Cam. You ain't winning a chip with Cam, and you know this. He's washed as a thrower. He just is, and we all know that. Now, I don't mean disrespect, but it's the reality. Sometimes the truth hurts. But you need to find out whether or not you can win a chip someday with Mac Jones. And the only way that's going to happen is with him playing, not sitting on the bench. Some of you will bring up notable examples of guys that sat for a period of time on benches. Well, at the end of the day, these guys had the skills or the work ethic or the understanding of the game, the study habits, to where they were going to be great quarterbacks no matter what. The Tom Brady's of the world, the Drew Breeses of the freaking world, the Phillip Rivers of the world. That is not a defense or justification for those guys sitting on a bench for a quarter of a season, a half of the rookie season, all of the rookie season, blah, 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 blah. That's dumb. The quicker you find out, the better off you are in today's NFL game. This isn't the frickin' 70s or 80s anymore. NFL teams, fans, media need to catch up to this reality. If you draft one of these quarterbacks high, Unless you have a clearly established top-notch guy in that position, they need to play and play right away, period.